Faux vegan leather. Well, what's all that about, you might say? Well, so leather, we know what leather is. That comes from an animal. And vegan leather is obviously not leather. It's some artificial man-made, homegrown, I don't know what. And so faux vegan leather would be, well, leather again, really. But it's just some of the nonsense they come out with. As I say, looking at these different cars and so on. I've had leather seats in a car before, and um, I've had cloth seats, and I had a Mercedes from 1985. That was a long time ago, and it was that had a thing called MB Tex. And I said, I did at the time, I didn't know it's MB Tex and cloth, and I was like, oh, what's the MB Tex? Sorry, what's that? And it's like, it's Mercedes artificial leather. Oh, okay. And you get, but basically it's vinyl. Oh, what if it's vinyl? Just say it's vinyl. I mean, it's a bit like this vegan leather. Just if it's vinyl, just say it's vinyl. It's probably not vinyl. It's probably some other nonsense. They've grown it with mushrooms or something. But honestly, I must say, to my way of thinking, as I say, I've had cloth is far superior. If you get a nice velour or some of the really nice cloths, some of the Citroens used to have really plush, really comfortable seats. Um, and far superior to any leather, because the leather gets too hot in the summer, and in the winter it gets cold. And I know you've got heated seats, but it's just completely ridiculous. Heated seats for something, and if you've got cloth seats, you just haven't got any of that nonsense at all. I mean, it's completely utter. What an absolute waste of time doing all this thing. Oh dear, oh dear. And now I was looking at the Tesla, I was sort of looking at the cars, these electric cars, the Tesla, and that. And Tesla said it's what is it? The shape of the future. It's got to look like the future. Well, that Cybertruck, that does look like the future. It does look completely different from anything else I've ever seen, I have to say. But, and there is a but. You've got the Model S and the Model 3 and the Model Y. They are all basically kind of three box saloons. All right, the S is a hatchback, and I think the Y is a hatchback, and the 3 is a saloon, a three box saloon. It's just the most boring real look of the thing. The Model X, that is a bit different. It's got the gold wings. That does look like the future. They don't do that anymore, not in the UK anyway. And so the Model 3 and the Model Y, which is all around now, I've looked at that and was thinking, well, ain't exactly looking like the future. All cars generally have gone like this SUV type of thing. Um, and I'm not going to say that looks particularly like the future, but the Citroen DS, which I've put a picture of, that was come out in 1955, and that looked futuristic then. It still doesn't look too bad. It really doesn't. But the Tesla, the Model 3, I can't understand. It's just a three box saloon, like an Audi A4 or a BMW 3 Series. It's just the most boring shape you can get. I can't understand what all the hoo ha is about. It just doesn't inspire me at all. There's all the business about being electric and whatever. I've got no real anti this or pro that. I just don't care about any of these things. It's just, to me, it's just about whether it's good value for money. And right at the moment, the electric cars, they just do not, to me, it does not provide good value for money against a petrol or a diesel. They're just not good value. Second hand, or certainly new, that depreciate like an absolute stone. Most cars depreciate, not all. Most cars, and there are very specialist cars in the high end that don't. And I was lucky enough to buy a mini club van a few years ago. Bought that new. It's just really lucky that we just bought that. Still got that, and that has it's just depreciated basically hardly at all. Hardly at all. Which is just quite bizarre, because minis do generally depreciate, but the thing, it didn't cost a lot in the first place, and therefore it's not got anywhere to depreciate to, pretty much. But no, I'd love to try it. I'd love to try an electric car. I've driven them, but the financially, it just does not work out. It's the depreciation that absolutely murders it. The actual cost of running it, from what I work out, it's about the same. Obviously, it's cheaper to charge at home. Yeah, fantastic. But when you're out and about, it's not. It's kind of more expensive than petrol. And overall, you've got to. I add on the inconvenience of keep messing about, all that, and going to a petrol station. I mean, it's just no contest. There's just no contest from that point of view. From the convenience point of view, the petrol or diesel absolutely murders it. But I'm not averse to it. If the costs were better, then yeah, I would go for it. There's no doubt. But anyway, if you do like this, do put a comment as to what you think in below, and then do subscribe if you think that's appropriate, and please do give us a like. It does help. The other thing that gets me thinking about these electric cars is the complete. They're only really successful because businesses have been incentivized to have them as company cars, and I do know certain people that have bought electric cars where they would have got different cars, and they bought an electric car instead of having a van because it will work, and they bought a car rather than buying a van, and it's a perk. And I know other people where they bought that Porsche, that expensive Porsche Taycan, whatever it's called, costing £100,000, and they've bought that rather than buying, and they bought it because it's electric, because there's massive incentives to buying it, and it's only really companies are going over it because there's a massive incentive if you're an employee, because the other ones, I used to have company cars, and this thing, it really used to irritate me, the amount of company car tax. It's got even worse. And a lot of the journeys that I had to do, it's electric car, it just wouldn't work. You could not do the work I used to do and get around in an electric car, because you'd have to keep stopping and charging and going back, or you'd end up getting back at 8 and 9 o'clock at night. It was absolutely nonsense. I mean, and then you'd wear yourself out, and that's no good at all. So for what I used to do, it just didn't work, the mileages and so on. And this is, I live in the south kind of thing. If you live up in Scotland, I just can't imagine how it just would not work, just because of the time recharging and all that. But they're only really incentivized. I mean, you look privately, and they're just not selling, because it's just too expensive. It just doesn't, it's not viable at the moment. It might be in a few years' time. And I've asked a few people, because the other thing is, are people that go to electric, are they stuck with it? I mean, who cares? But I do know several people that have gone to electric and tried it out, and it just didn't work for them, and they've come back and just said, yeah, very, very nice, doesn't work for me, tried it, not happening. Not particularly with the financial thing, just practicality. It didn't work. They weren't too bothered about the financial side. They knew it was going to cost them more, and they've gone back. They've gone back to petrol, diesel, because it's just practical. Not bothered about it. I think as a bonus, they're actually saving money as a result of it. So no doubt things will, as things change, if it's viable, it'll take off. But as I say, the main success at the moment is because it's massively incentivized by the government to do it. If it was on a like for like basis, it wouldn't stand an earthly. It wouldn't stand a chance. The other thing is energy density. Is I looked at the energy density. They're saying about the new lithium ion batteries. They're very energy dense and all that. Well, not when you compare it to petrol or diesel. It's absolutely nothing like the because you get a 70 kilowatt car. So yeah, there's all different sizes of battery, but 70 kilowatt you could get. And I looked, and you can do this yourself, because I always believe in doing your own research. Is how many kilowatt hours are effectively in diesel? How much energy? I think they measure it in thermojoules or something. And then when you look at how much energy is in diesel, it's absolutely incredible. Or petrol. Diesel's slightly better, but petrol is very similar. Diesel's slightly better. And it works out there's 11 kilowatt hours in diesel per litre, which is absolutely amazing, really. So 7 litres would be effectively 70 kilowatts. But obviously, with an engine, it's inefficient in that regard. And I think over 50% of it is lost in heat and all this of actually running the engine. But even so, even with all that aside, the diesel or petrol is massively much more energy dense, and that's why you only need a tanker 60-litre diesel tank, which I've got in my car, 66 litres. You get 850 miles. It's absolutely amazing, absolutely incredible, really. There's nothing like it. Compared to the electric. And I mean, all these. There's another bloke's done a trip from Land's End to John O'Groats and the charging. Nobody does that journey. I mean, that's just absolutely absurd. People keep saying, "Oh, there's not enough chargers and all this." I just don't care. Obviously, they were. I think he did it, and he obviously stopped and charged up. Well, so what? I just can't. It's just a completely unrealistic situation. Who goes from Land's End to John O'Groats? You can do that in a lawn. The 1962. There's a fellow. He did it in a lawnmower. In a petrol lawnmower. Can you imagine that? That was quite a feat. But it's absolutely. I don't know. All I'm after is just really value for money, and to a regard efficiency. I'm not really bothered about the efficiency, to be honest, but efficiency of time and all this, that, and the other, and the diesel and petrol. That can't be wiped out, because what will happen, I'm sure, that all these things will coexist. Like steam engines are completely, they became outdated in the 1930s, or probably before, when diesel engines used to come in the 1930s, and of course Britain was still running them. It stopped in 1968, I think, and they were. Fortunately, they're all still around on little heritage lines all around the country, and they're still there, and everybody absolutely loves them. It's absolutely brilliant. If you've ever seen a steam engine, it's absolutely fantastic. But they all still, and I'm sure diesel and petrol cars or commercial vehicles will coexist. And electric will be part of it, and there'll be something else. There's these solid state batteries that I've heard a bit about. They keep threatening those to come, and that will be better. I think they're four times more energy. 4 times more energy than the current lithium ion, which is better, but it's still nothing compared to the diesel or petrol. No, there's no comparison. But the solid state ones are much quicker to charge up. They take like 5 minutes to go fully charged. The other disadvantage with those and all batteries is that all batteries seem to have a static discharge rate. Is what you learn is that lead acid, it doesn't matter what batteries, whether you've got alkaline batteries or whatever, and the battery car will be the same as static discharge rate. So it's when it's sat there for any length of time that it will just discharge on its own, not with anything switched on. The battery will just discharge, and the solid state ones discharge at a much faster rate than. But it doesn't matter because it only takes 5 minutes to charge them up. But it's always interesting looking at all this. But anyway, I hope that's been of some use.